All of that was to make up for the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow. So unless these benefits are going to, roughly defined, foundational black Americans, the descendants of American slaves, you've taken away the whole purpose of this. And that is exactly what's happened once we got this huge load of immigrants, to beg Congress to deal with this custom, this treatment of anchor babies, acting like the children of illegal aliens are American citizens. No, the 14th Amendment was written specifically about former slaves. That's what it was about. Even the former Klanner on the Supreme Court said, this is about freemen. This is about former slaves. Even if she had always claimed to be an American black, it's simply factual that she is not a foundational black American. And again, that is why America has all of these provisions like affirmative action and set-asides and civil rights laws. It is because of the shame and guilt about slavery and Jim Crow, both little democratic enterprises, by the way. So it all has to be spent on black Americans.
That, ladies and gents, is the part people like Roland Martin and everybody else on Kamala's team did not want you to see. Ann Coulter was on C-SPAN, where the host of the show questioned her about the Kamala's Not Black revelation, and Ann Coulter said Kamala was not a foundational black American. Doesn't matter how much you try to twist it. Roland Martin then went on his show to call out Ann Coulter for telling the truth and discredit her opinion, basically insinuating to his audience that she was racist, which is very easy to do in front of a group of black people. Just put up a white woman and a non-black woman cosplaying as a black American woman and fuel the anger of the people by taking sound bites and calling them racist instead of listening to what was said and asking yourself, was it true or was it a lie? Was it logical? No, instead, Roland Martin went against the truth, all because she was a white woman. He took up for Kamala Harris while also going against black Americans, saying the descendants of black American slaves are ops.
All you're hearing her do, Julianne, Makongo, and Renita, is parrot these FBA people. They've been on social media the last several years doing the exact same thing. And frankly, let's be real clear, many of them are standing with Donald Trump.
See, whether or not you like her, you can't say she told a lie. But off the rip, he just told a lie. I have not seen an FBA person campaigning for Trump. Calling out Kamala Harris and holding her accountable is not a Trump endorsement.
They are ops. They're there to be disruptive.
Listen, this is what he's saying about the black American descendants of slaves.
They are ops. They're there to be disruptive. They are ops. They're there to be disruptive. It's pretty stupid.
Yeah, Ann Coulter, number one, let me just say this. I don't know what it is about election season that makes white people feel like they can weigh in on who is black and who is not. But PSA, there's never a good time for you to weigh in on this topic. You have no right to weigh in on this topic. This does not concern you. Ann Coulter needs to mind her business. This has nothing to do with you or a community that you've ever been a part of and that you know anything about.
Yeah, they tried to cape for Kamala real bad, but you know what I'm about to show you? Everything they didn't want you to see. Yeah, these are the clips they did not want you to see. They wanted this to go away and wanted us to ignore it. I have to say, this is not about who you like or what you like or what's making you feel good. Is she telling the truth about the laws designed specifically for the descendants of black American slaves and how those laws have been hijacked to benefit everybody else except for the people they were intended to support? Take a look for yourself.
And yes, I am a Democrat. But again, I'm 54, and I remember, it is brought back to my remembrance that during her time, what was it, a prosecutor or a district, whatever she was doing, if anyone were to bring up about her being black or saying that she was black, she had a visceral reaction to that in her body language. She did not want to be thought of as black, and certainly as a prosecutor back then, she had put so many black people, and particularly black men, in jail. And unfortunately, black people have a very short memory span, and it's hurting us. It's hurting us right now.
All right, Belia, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you for calling in. Ann Coulter.
Well, even if she had always, and thank you very much for your call, even if she had always claimed to be an American black, it's simply factual that she is not a foundational black American. And again, that is why America has all of these provisions like affirmative action and set-asides and civil rights laws. It is because of the shame and guilt about slavery and Jim Crow, both little democratic enterprises, by the way. So it all has to be spent on black Americans, not on any loser with a grievance from around the world. And that's what it's become. I listed in that column you mentioned, Peter, because it always makes me laugh that all the good diversity jobs are going to immigrants. There was Claudine Gay, the head of a lot of the affirmative action programs, and there are like 200 affirmative action or DEI administrators. They're Indians, a lot of Indians. And I went through all of the immigrant hosts on MSNBC, and I forget, there are like 8 of them. And 3 or 4 foundational black Americans. And I know, MSNBC, they're so proud of their diversity. No, it's not about diversity. It's about integrating black Americans into mainstream American life, and giving them benefits to make up for slavery and Jim Crow. I think, some affirmative action programs went a little far and aren't really helping, but that's what it's about, and we've completely pretended to forget what the point of this was.
In a recent Substack column, Ann Coulter, you wrote that probably inadvertently and for all the wrong reasons, Donald Trump made an important point when he said of the Democrats' most recent presidential nominee, she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. Why do you say that was an important point?
Well, I write about this a little bit in my book, Mugged, about racial demagoguery, and also in Adios America about immigration. And that is, the important point he should have made is that the entire purpose of affirmative action, set-asides, civil rights laws that limit constitutional rights to freedom of contract, freedom of association, all of that was to make up for the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow. So unless these benefits are going to, roughly defined, foundational black Americans, the descendants of American slaves, you've taken away the whole purpose of this. And that is exactly what's happened once we got this huge load of immigrants. Now, a Thai who arrived on Wednesday will get an advantage applying to college, applying to corporations, over a heterosexual white male in particular. That's the biggest hate group. But any white American. And all of the civil rights laws have been, and affirmative action and so on, have been twisted into just anti-white hatred and open, egregious discrimination. So to make the point that Kamala isn't a foundational black American, I'm always pointing out to black people, hey, have you noticed Indians are getting all the good diversity jobs? What did we do to Indians? We didn't enslave them. I mean, most of these immigrants coming in, 90% of legal immigrants are from the third world. And mostly we've just run around saving them from earthquakes and tornadoes and coups and starvation. They owe us. We don't owe them. But to switch from the concept of integration and civil rights for black Americans to this BS-y diversity, not only to point out to black Americans that their history is being stolen by immigrants, but to remind white Americans that this whole diversity thing is just discrimination against them. The amount of money being sucked in sucked out of the federal government by immigrants is astronomical. They always fiddle with the numbers to hide it. But I mean, just the translators, the massive amount of crime being committed by immigrants, which is also lied about, covered in Adios America. The judges, the public defenders, the jail cells, the English as a second language classes. And this is to say nothing of, I mean, New Yorkers are getting a taste of it now. It used to just be the border states and places like California. The enormous, giant, heaping amount of welfare being given to immigrants, legal and illegal, compared to native-born Americans and or American-headed households. And by now, since Reagan's amnesty, that includes a lot of very recent immigrants. Illegal immigrants collect the most in illegal immigrant-headed households. I'll tell you why I say that in a second. Collect vastly the most amount of welfare, followed by legal immigrants, followed by American-headed families. And the reason I say American-headed or illegal-headed is one of the ways they lie about this is by counting illegal aliens who drop an anchor baby as American. That's an American. And, you know, what does most welfare go for? It goes for the kids. It's the illegal alien anchor baby who's sucking in all the welfare to support his entire family. And no court and no Congress has ever said, officially ruled that the child of illegal immigrants is an American citizen. That was a footnote in a Justice Brennan opinion. It was dicta. It was not part of the ruling. And now everybody just acts like it's true. That is something that Trump absolutely could have changed with an executive order. The great federal judge, and boy, he's not a conservative, Richard Posner, he was for a while the most, I think he's retired now, but the most cited federal judge. Absolutely brilliant man. And again, whoa, not a conservative. He used a concurrence in one of his opinions years ago to beg Congress to deal with this custom, this treatment of anchor babies, acting like the children of illegal aliens are American citizens. No, the 14th Amendment was written specifically about former slaves. That's what it was about. Even the former Klanner on the Supreme Court said, this is about freemen. This is about former slaves. They are citizens. They were born, they are citizens of the jurisdiction in which they live. It is not about an 8-month pregnant Mexican running across the border and dropping a baby. You really think that's what the country was thinking about immediately after the Civil War. It is exclusively about black people. Congress should pass a law. Oh, Harry Reid, former Democratic leader of the Senate. He used to give speeches on this on the Senate floor, how insane the treatment of this creation of anchor babies is. Really ferocious speeches. But then I guess Democrats realized, hey, the immigrants are voting for us. Let's keep the gravy train going.
The takeaway for Black Americans is that all these other groups, they've hijacked all the laws made specifically for us, and those same laws, they've been twisted to only benefit them, basically everybody except for us. Look around in New York or Chicago.
Money! How y'all find money for them? Yeah. But you can't find money for us. Right. Do you all realize that CTU has it in their contract that is up for negotiations this year, where they're going to be giving more money to migrants than they're going to be giving to support our teachers? In what world is that okay? You want to give migrant kids $2,000 a month for a stipend in your contract? What about the rest of the kids who are hungry and suffering here in Chicago? Do you not think that it is just migrant kids who are suffering, who are not able to eat, who are dealing with homelessness? Of course it's not.
You can even look at Mindy, who identified as Indian just like Kamala. Her brother used affirmative action and cosplayed as a black man to get in medical school.
Best known as being TV and film star Mindy Kaling's brother. Let's start off by talking about your last name, because now I see that Mindy actually took the middle part of Chokalingam for the Kaling, right?
Yeah.
And now you've hyphenated it. What's that about?
Well, when I was in medical school, my mother convinced me that Chokalingam, that was too long, so I should, because of course she was Dr. Chokalingam, so that I should start using my middle name. I should start hyphenating it so that it's easier to say Dr. Ingham. And of course, I never graduated medical school, so it didn't make much difference anyway.
Well, I'm also a Tamilian, so I'm happy to say Chokalingam all night long, okay?
Yeah, well, fortunately, you're the only one who actually recognizes that Chokalingam is a Tamil name. Otherwise, I never would have been able to pull off my scam.
Well, let's get to your scam, shall we? Tell us about it.
Sure. Back in 1997, I was kind of a college frat boy, more interested in partying than studying. My best friend, Indian American, just like me, a year older, did not get into medical school, and I realized that with my grades and test scores, I was not going to get in either. So what I did was I read a lot of statistics that the medical schools were discriminating against their Asian American and white applicants and in favor of their Hispanic and African American applicants as part of a program that they called 3,000 by 2000, essentially a racial quota scheme. I realized that I would dramatically improve my chance of admission by posing as an African American. Anyway, I shaved my head, trimmed my long Indian eyelashes, and applied to medical school as an African American. I interviewed at 11 medical schools across America in 9 different cities while posing as black, and I actually succeeded in getting into medical school at St. Louis University in Missouri.
Wait a damn minute. Wait a damn.
It was a whole con job. And look at what Kamala did. She used it to get picked as VP of the United States of America. Remember in 2020, they put the pressure on Joe Biden to choose a black woman.
Most African Americans that I've talked to on a daily basis are very concerned that, black women in particular have been the heartbeat of the Democratic Party for a long time, really shored you up in places like South Carolina. Are you committed to naming a black woman as your vice presidential running mate?
Black women forced him to choose a black woman as his running mate. And then he picked an Indian woman, raised partially in Canada, with no roots to black America, as his running mate, cosplaying as a black woman. So there it is. Now that you see what she was talking about, I'll ask again, was Ann Coulter right about these laws being hijacked that were intended for the descendants of black American slaves? Is it true or is it a lie? Let's go ahead and get the conversation started. Let me know what you think about this below. Special thank you to Roland C. I appreciate you, Roland, for all of your support, as well as Eric. Don't forget that you can support this channel as well. Links to Cash App and PayPal are below. Ladies, fellas, want a balanced analysis, want the truth from a woman's perspective? Then you're going to want to subscribe to this channel and don't forget to like and share.
Yeah, well, fortunately, you're the only one who actually recognizes that Chokalingam is a Tamil name. Otherwise, I never would have been able to pull off my scam.